Let the be from Donnie Jaya Papa.
Okay. What's up, everybody? Good morning. Do you want to say good morning to the Dad Show?
Yes.
What do you say?
Good morning, Dad Show.
Okay. We want Johnny, yes, Papa. Little baby bum, Johnny, yes, Papa. There you go. Take it to your playmat, please. Playmat, please. Okay. Take it to your playmat. Thank you. All right. See you later. Okay. We'll see you later. What's up, everybody? Good. That's a good way to start your Sunday, right? Like, it can't be that bad, right? I mean, you lost to Vanderbilt. Maybe it is that bad, but things in life give you perspective. Okay, what's up, everybody? Good morning. Welcome to a Sunday edition of Morning Scone, presented by Brock, the Baton Rouge Orthopedic Clinic, Parrish Construction and Roofing. You need an orthopedist? Go to Brock. You need a roof called Parrish. Unique physique and unique aesthetics and wellness. Restored Motions, restoredmotions.com, Bocock Brothers Premium Cigars. Use the code MAT15, MAT15, MAT15 for 15% off your order. Stat Dub said late. No, not late. It's Sunday. Come on here whenever I want. Weekends, or come on here whenever I want on the weekends. There's no set time on the weekend. What it is. All right. Many thanks to my friends at Our Lady of the Lake. Had a great time in Nashville, aside from the game. And we flew home yesterday after the game, so really convenient. Was able to get home and sleep in my own bed last night and wake up in BR. And talk about whatever's left. I mean, I could give you a lot of reasons how or why they could turn it around. That's just not realistic. The crux of your, like, if you can't see at this point, the crux of every issue you have offensively is your offensive line. I mean, you're 7 games in. Nuss gets killed every play. He's got no time to let things develop down the field. Can't run block. Harlan Berry looked good. That was encouraging. Trey Daz continues to look really good. And so many of his yards are actually after the catch because you don't have time to let routes develop down the field. It's get him the ball. There's one play where it looked like, out in the flat, he was going to be tackled for no gain, broke free, ended up getting 8-9 yards, whatever it was. Probably the most disappointing thing is your defense losing contain. There was a few times Harold Perkins had Pavia dead to right and just couldn't get to him, couldn't get him on the ground. You knew the assignment with that offense, and you just let him break contain. You did really well, actually, on first and second down, and you let him convert 3rd and 8. You let him convert on 4th a couple times. Bummer, man. Real bummer. Ooh. Ha, ha. Ha, ha. I love you. You want to come say at Dad Show? He gone. So, I mean, there's the convo of what do you do for the remainder of this season? What is realistic, and then what does the future look like convo as well, because you were so all in on this year. What you want, baby? Little baby bum cat. Okay. Little baby bum cat. Here you go. Take it to your playmat, please. Okay, take it to your playmat, please. Okay. Thank you. Anyway. All right. Whatever. I've talked enough. Saints play the Bears today. Y'all, let's just get to questions, see what y'all got. You go to your playmat, please, with the iPad. Thank you. Hey, Bubba. Good morning. Can we get a pass First thing this morning. No, not a morning scone. We can all be adults on the Lord's Day. Bailey, hope Russ doesn't order dinner with drinks. Where do you have to take it? That's true. We've had dinner at Supper Club. Jackson, Matt, is Drew BK1 on vacation or the bye week? He feels somewhat checked out. I don't know. I've seen that and read that before. And if he did, I don't care. That's not uncommon. Coaches take days off during the bye week. That happens. Like that is people trying to make something out of a thing that's not there. So you be upset. You can place blame a lot of places. And it's justified a lot of places. Let's not start fabricating stories. Okay, like he went on vacation. It's their open day. That happens. The coaches get days off. Like if you get days off and you want to leave and go somewhere, leave and go somewhere. I don't care. I care what you do. Hey, Brennan, good morning. Bailey, having a bad O-line with a pocket QB is an Achilles heel. I mean, it gives you a greater appreciation for last year's offensive line's ability to pass protect, which gave Nussmeier time to make plays in the pass game. This team is not good. As I look back at it, they should have spent less money. Hindsight's 2020. They should have spent less money on their offensive skill guys and more on the offensive line. That's probably their biggest miss. Nick Anderson's impact has been minimal. Bauer Sharp's impact has been minimal. And I don't mean to single out those guys. I don't know that it's necessarily their fault or anything like that. It's just I think the reality that we could look at right now. I think you could have. I think Barron Brown's been great. He may end up as your leading receiver this year. But if you could have taken that money and put it into another lineman, a starting tackle, how different does this look? I don't know. But you lose Tyree Adams yesterday. DJ Chester goes in, and it was not good. And Weston Davis had another brutal day. So, I can keep asking Brian Kelly about it, but the answer continues to be the same. And you just keep rolling those guys out there, and you keep getting Garrett Nussmeier killed. So, I mean, look, teams got issues. I don't think Garrett Nussmeier is anywhere near the top of the list of issues. You got to block, and they don't against anybody. Unhappy morning. Tiger Diver, morning. Where does LSU go from here? Can they come with the money to buy out BK? No, they're not going to buy out Brian Kelly. And, I've said, I think the more interesting conversation is depending on what happens over the final 5 games. Like, let's say they lose to A&M, Bama, Oklahoma, and they go 7-5. Does he want to come back next year? Does Brian Kelly want to retire? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. I'm just playing out hypotheticals. That's maybe a more interesting question. And it's not necessarily, look, they've lost 2 road games to ranked teams. Like, that's not an unforgivable offense. It's the manner in which you lost that doesn't give you confidence that this is going to get better this year. You know what I mean? That's the real challenge. Tom's team, Drew, Destin Tiger, good morning. Brad, good morning. Got back, I think I got home at like 7:30. Adam, season's pretty much done the way LSU played. I mean, well, mathematically, you're 1 game away from being eliminated from playoff contention, right? So you have to win out. You're 5-2. If we look at last year, you'd have to go 10-2. Means you have to beat A&M, at Bama, at Oklahoma, and then of course home games against Arkansas, Western Kentucky. I don't believe that's possible. So mathematically, it's possible. I don't think it's realistic. Put it to you that way. So yeah, I mean, I think the question is, do you play your best in a given week and have a marquee win out there? Maybe it's next week against A&M. You can roll your eyes and laugh, and I wouldn't blame you for doing that. But when 22, when LSU was embarrassing them against Tennessee, I don't think anybody thought they would have beat Bama that year. Last year, I don't think anybody would have thought LSU would have beaten Ole Miss. So, you'll play your best game somewhere along the way and win a game you probably shouldn't. Maybe it was Clemson. Maybe we look back and Clemson ends up being their best game of the year. Maybe. Anyway. Destin Tiger, Independence Bowl bound. I mean, if they fall to 7-5, it could be. Hey, Kelly. Kelly and Sloan need to go. Listen, I know the fire the coach crowd will be out in full force today. And what I'll say is, first of all, just financially, firing and buying out Brian Kelly is not a realistic financial possibility. Not the way that I see it. I don't see a world where LSU is raising $50 million to buy out Brian Kelly. Okay. If you want to have the conversation, I don't blame you. And I think anybody that today is looking at anything on staff and saying it needs to change, I think you're right to have that conversation, because you can't be 7 games into the season and be one of 2 programs in the FBS that hasn't scored 25 points. Like, especially when you have all the investment you have, when you have a 5th-year senior quarterback and you went and spent the money you did on these offensive skill guys, to not score 25 points against a power or against an FBS opponent is just, it's inexcusable. So wherever you want to point the finger, is it Brian Kelly, Joe Sloan, Brad Davis, some combination there and of all, I don't, yeah. I mean, it's indefensible. There's no, I've said it before. I was willing to hear the argument through the first month that injured Nussmeier, you have 5 new starters on the line, really good defensive fronts from Clemson and Florida. You were leaning on your defense, playing conservative. Like, that made sense. I could hear that argument, and I was willing to give them time. Well, a lot of you were not. I was willing to give them time to let it see if it developed. And to this point, it's very clear the crux of your issue is, we know the offensive line has been bad. I've been saying that from the beginning of the season, but they haven't improved this year. And losing Tyree Adams yesterday was not ideal, of course. But there's no reason to think it's going to improve throughout the remainder of the season, at least not to a degree that would match the level of expectation, right? Hey, Austin, good morning. If a 5th-year starting quarterback and $18 million roster not enough for Kelly to win at LSU, I don't know what will be. I wish I'm more optimistic about the future. Yeah, man. I think it's pretty clear. And listen, everyone can level whatever criticism they want today, and it's all warranted and justified. Okay. Let's also acknowledge some facts as well, some truths. In a day where your defensive front 7 did not have its best day, you were down Whit Weeks, your best linebacker, your best interior defensive lineman, Gabe Rutherford, and Jamari Butler. So you were down 2 of your 4 rotational defensive ends, and you were playing yesterday Dylan Carpenter and CJ Jackson, most of whom I don't even know. Most of you, I would assume, don't even know who CJ Jackson is, but he's number 14 playing defensive end yesterday. That's not ideal. especially against that offense where you have to be gap sound and disciplined and all that sort of stuff. So, like, let's at least acknowledge that. Okay, let's be fair that that defensive front was severely limited yesterday. I thought Jacoby Guillory played awesome, by the way. Hat tip to Tank, 6-year player who played some big boy football in that interior yesterday. I thought Tank was awesome. But I think we could also look and say, with benefit of hindsight, there should have been more portal investment in the offensive line. You got two guys, and they tried to get more. I mean, they what is it? It was Connor Moore from Montana State was the guy that tried to get. He ended up at Michigan State. I don't know that it was ever reported, but Will Conformby, the right tackle from Alabama, his representatives were shopping him and looked like LSU had a deal to get him here, and I think an Alabama matched, and so he stayed. There were others. I can't remember who, but there were others they went after in the portal on the offensive line. So, but your two best have been your two transfers. Your two best have been Braylon Moore and Josh Thompson. Those have been your two best linemen, and you probably should have gotten more, at least one more. Is 8-4 enough to get rid of him? Keep in mind also, Scott Woodward hired him, so I don't think Scott Woodward is itching to go fundraise to get rid of the coach he hired. You also have a different financial reality in the rev share era, and a governor who has not really been super pumped with wasteful spending in higher ed and around athletics in particular. So while you're also about to hire a new university president, all this to say, like, this is all tied in together, right? The AD works for the board and the president. Well, the governor ultimately is the one that appoints the president and board members as they term out. So point is, like, as weird as it is to think that the governor of the state would have anything to do whatsoever with this, the governor of the state certainly has something to say about the athletic director. And I think there's friction. I don't think I know. There's friction there. All that to say, there's going to be a higher level conversation had about all that. Hard for me to imagine a world where LSU is going to fundraise $50 million to buy out the football coach, because then you're going to have to turn around and buy out the staff, hire a new football coach, new staff, and then go buy a new roster. I just don't think that money exists. Hey, Dane, good morning. Debo the God, good morning. Randall, at least we have baseball. Jay Johnson will save us again. Hey, Aaron, good morning. Devin, good morning. Keeping all thoughts in the chamber this morning. You can let them out. Just remember that it's Morning Scone. This is not whiskey and wine. Morning Scone is family friendly. So I see there's 542 people watching, which is awesome. Welcome to everybody. Y'all say whatever you want. Fire away. But Morning Scone, we do keep it family friendly. So Morning Scone is family friendly. But please smash the like button if you would. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. I know there's a lot of new people here, I'm sure. And got all of our sponsors here. Scrolling across the bottom. We'll get them linked everywhere as well. Tiger fan, please don't make me watch the Saints after what I endured yesterday. Gregory, any buyout news? No. This is the eulogy for Kelly. One of the really interesting things is, to me anyway, is how, is everyone right now is trying to navigate this portal NIL era, right? And how you build a roster. So Kelly's thing had been up to this point, recruit and develop through the high school ranks, supplement in the portal. Well, where had that gotten you? It had gotten you 9-3, 8-4, bad defense with a historic offense last year, just good on both sides of the ball, not great. And so this year they went the other way and went heavy portal. And look where you're sitting here 7 games in at 5-2 with the reality that you're 5-2, but the 5-2 has not looked very good, and it's daunting because you'll be an underdog in 3 more games. So, I guess what'll be interesting is to see how they approach this offseason. Do they go heavy portal again? Do they reset with high school recruiting? I don't know. How does everyone still their job at 10 a.m. the next day? Duval, more Matt. This must be how A&M felt at the end of the Jimbo era. Interesting comp. I mean, you hired a proven coach, spent a ton of money to do it, gave him the resources to win, and you keep coming up short. It's fair. Hey, Lance, good morning. High comedies. Everyone has a price, even Brent Key. Oh, I'm not worried about hiring a coach. If the LSU job comes open, there will always be a line of people that want that job. The bigger question is, how do you fire the coach when you gave him the contract you did? It's the point that I've made since they hired Brian Kelly. For better or worse, you paid him $100 million over 10 years with 90% of that deal guaranteed. You effectively bound yourself to Brian Kelly financially for a decade, for better or worse. So I don't know that listen, I can stand corrected. If I'm wrong, that's what I say all the time about the digital era. Everything's recorded, right? If I'm wrong, I ain't hiding from nothing. I do not see a world, and I have not heard anyone when I talk to admins, boosters, coaches, whoever, right, that has an appetite to spend $50 million to buy out the coach. Now, you lose a game like that, it keeps going down. That tone could change, but I haven't heard that from anybody. I hear fans say it a lot, but those aren't the people that are stroking checks. Not the first time Kelly punted the ball back on offense, couldn't stop at the end of the game, did the same thing against Ole Miss in 23. Talked about it in the post game on Locked On. That was my biggest gripe. Was punting at the end of the game. I know Brian Kelly defended the decision. You had 2 timeouts and the 2-minute timeout. I would look and say, my point was, I would look and say, what is more likely? Is it more likely for you to convert 4th and 8, get a PI, get traded as a catch and run, bury and breast out? More likely to convert a 4th and 8, or is it more likely, excuse me, that you get a stop, get the ball back, you using your timeouts and the 2-minute timeout to get that stop, to then get the ball back and then drive and score a touchdown? That's where I'm looking and going, what do you think is more likely? What I want. There you go. And I think if you were relying on your defense to get a stop, to try to get you the ball back, so then you could go drive the length of the field and score a tying touchdown, I think that was a poor decision. I don't think they're going to be going to the Cheez-It Bowl, which, by the way, I don't think it's called the Cheez-It Bowl anymore. I could be wrong. I could stand corrected there. But it's largely irrelevant. Hey, Jaleel, bought tickets for A&M next weekend last Thursday. Hopes it'd be a top 10 matchup. Hopefully it will be full crowd, a good game. Look, man, I mean, listen, if you want, I don't know that many of you are coming here today with seeking the glass half full approach. I know most people want to just wallow in the misery of the reality. If you want the glass half full approach, this is it. You ready? I will give you the glass half full approach. Now, I don't believe this. I don't believe this is going to happen, but I'll give you the glass half full approach. You're super motivated after this loss. The guys you sat out are back healthier. I don't know, honestly, based on what I've heard over the weekend. I don't know that Witt is even going to play this week, but let's say you get Weeks and Gooden and Butler and everybody back, okay? And Adams and you're healthy. And it's a giant crowd in Tiger Stadium at night game and all that sort of stuff. And people rally the troops and LSU plays its best game of the year, and you go beat A&M. Okay, well, now you got a top 10 win and you're 6-2 going into your bye, and you get to get healthy in 2 weeks to prepare before you go play Alabama. And I get Alabama 6-1 right now. Again, I'm giving you the glass half full approach. I'm not telling you this is reality or I believe it. I'm just giving you the glass half full approach. Okay, this is the idea. And then you get 2 weeks to go play Alabama. Bama is 6-1. But a year ago, I'll remind you, there was a team that looked awful in its season opening loss and then rattled off 6 straight wins and was top 10 in the country. And then ended up 8-4. That team was LSU, by the way. And when you look at Bama, impressive wins, but they were shut out in the second half against Georgia. They needed nail-biter wins against Vanderbilt and Missouri. And Tennessee's, I don't know if you watched that game, but the 99-yard pick six at the end of the game or at the end of the first half finished that game. I mean, Tennessee was at the 1-yard line in the last play of the first half. It was about to score to make it 16-14. They threw a 99-yard interception return for a touchdown, which flipped the game to 22 or 23 to say it was going to be 16-14. Instead, it's 23-7, and the game was over at that point. I mean, it's a 14-point swing. You don't overcome a 14-point swing. Anyway, maybe you get lucky, win that game. You come home against Arkansas, Western Kentucky, and then you get to go to Oklahoma with one swing at a chance to get in the playoff. That is the optimist's glass half full approach. I do not believe that. Okay, but there are some people today who might be looking for an optimistic glass half full approach. There it is for you. Hey, Cody, good morning. Thoughts on Vitello taking the Giants manager job? I needed some good news yesterday. Glad to see it. We're officially the Saints of the SEC. 6-6 record coming, invitation to the Independence Bowl. I don't think they're going to be 6-6 because that means you'd have to lose one of your home games to Arkansas or Western Kentucky. And I don't think they're going to lose those. Arkansas offensively is impressive. No doubt about that. I also think LSU defensively has a plan to limit that team. And Arkansas this year is very comparable to what LSU was in 23. Really good offensive team, atrocious defensive team. Could they come in and just score a ton and LSU lays down defensively? And that could happen. I don't think that happens. But Matt, the offensive line has taken its fair share of criticism, but Blake Baker and the defense need to call Diego Pavia daddy this morning. Is Scott Woodward in trouble as well? Again, there's a lot of political involvement and pressures into those conversations that most people don't consider, because you have to say, okay, well, who does Scott Woodward work for? Well, ultimately, the president, vis-a-vis the board, would hire the athletic director. Well, remember, right now, there's a new search for a permanent university president. It sounds like is that Wade Rouse? Is that, I think, is the guy who it sounds like might end up getting just from McNeese, Wade Rouse. Might end up getting the job. But anyway, Point being, remember, ultimately, the president of the university and the members of the board, when they turn over, are appointed by the governor. And the president, there's a presidential search firm, ultimately that's that works with and for and through the governor. So, and the governor and Scott Woodward are not politically aligned. And I know that the governor is not thrilled about a lot of the spending within LSU athletics. So you have a season go the way this one it has. Like, do you see, pressure there? Maybe. Being very careful, because I don't think that this is anything that's like front and center. Like, I'm not saying Scott Woodward's getting fired, but I think there are interesting political pressures that influence that decision. Hey, Carl, college football doesn't feel right to me anymore. I'm not getting old, or as removing parity from the sport somehow made it worse. Carl, I couldn't disagree with you more. Like, they haven't removed parity. Like, they've added parity to the sport. And by the way, for those of you who know, like, parity is Parity. Parody is like a comedic endeavor. Anyway. So it's a homophone. Sounds the same, spelled different meanings. Anyway. Parity is the word that you want to use. But anyway, I couldn't disagree with you more. I think parity is amazing, because what's happened is you've removed the superpowers and you've elevated the floor. And so everything's been compressed more. I mean, forgive me, but I'm not super interested in Georgia not losing a game for 3 straight years. Like, I want to feel like my team has a shot, and like any team has a shot. I mean, otherwise, what are you playing for? So I think we all are in this process right now where we have to reframe our awareness of college football and college sports and what it is. Because, and look, here we're talking about Texas Tech, right? Texas Tech's one of these quintessential examples of a program with a ton of money that's spent to be great. And they were undefeated top 10. And what happened yesterday? They lost to Arizona State. You just have, I think you've elevated the floor. I mean, look at the SEC. Look at Kentucky. Kentucky's the worst team in the conference. They're bad. Kentucky was in a mud fight with Ole Miss earlier this year. Kentucky yesterday was in what took Texas to the brink a week after Texas beat Oklahoma. I mean, the floor, Mississippi State. Like, we've raised the floor. There's no easy outs. Vanderbilt's a ranked football team. Like, I know the Marquise is Vanderbilt. You lost on the road to a ranked football team yesterday. Yes, it's Vanderbilt. That is a ranked football team. Matt, is this the moment where you say to yourself, LSU will never win anything of significance as long as Brian Kelly's your head coach? Donovan, I don't know that I would go there. I think LSU is in a spot where they, like every other team and program, are trying to navigate how you build a roster in 2025. And it feels a little like whack-a-mole. Like, you hit one problem over here, well, another one pops up and you're chasing it a little bit. A year ago, they spent $5.5 million on their roster, and it was obvious they weren't talented enough to compete. Well, this year they went and spent $18 million on the roster, and you've got plenty of talent, but clearly your offensive line has been a gigantic sieve, and it's cost you the opportunity to move the football. And it's put so much pressure on your defense to be perfect. Look, I'm not fired up that the defense allowed Vanderbilt to score on 5 of its first 6 possessions and 4 of those being touchdowns. I mean, you got to get off the field. Blake Baker and his defense aren't without fault here. And it was on a day where LSU finally got going offensively. I mean, LSU scored on 5 of its first 6 possessions, but you settle for a few field goals in the mix there. And that's been the problem all year, has been the inability to finish drives. You get down to the 1-yard line and, for all the criticism Sloan gets, and a lot of it's warranted, you get down to the 1, you drop a beautiful play, touchdown Xavier Thomas, no one's near him, beautiful design, beautiful concept, all of it. 88's offside, false starts. So now you back up 5 and you run the Wildcat with Juwan Johnson, which gets stuffed, and then you have an incomplete pass, you end up kicking a field goal. It's like it's first and goal from the 1. Anyway, please smash the like 720 watching. Please smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, Facebook, like the page, share the post. Appreciate y'all. Hey, Dane, it's T-Bob's fault. He left us. Everything's going to crap. 7 and 5. Kyrie. Man, I'm like half an hour behind on comments. Sorry. I have no nice things to say, so I won't speak. Enjoy your Sunday. 8 and 4. Will, more Matt played Powerball last night just to pay BK's buyout. Did win enough. Silver lining time. We got our first down and opening drive. Now, first points. Yeah, you would in 6 games you had punted 5 times and thrown an interception on your first possession of the game. So yesterday was the first time you scored on the opening possession. Hey, Brad, I know you probably want to focus on the game yesterday. How do you think LSU matches up with A&M next week? Oh, we'll have plenty of time to talk about that, Brad. I mean, I think A&M is a very different kind of challenge than what you faced yesterday. Hi, baby. Let me see.
Let's
see. Okay. Done? All right, hang on.
Daddy, I want to take a bath. Let's go.
Okay, sweetheart.
Hi, welcome. Hi, babe. Hi, welcome to Sesame Street.
Hi, welcome to Sesame Street. Wait. Okay, all right, you're free. Off you go. All right. Drew. His backpack was done. All right. As always, shout out to Brock, the Baton Rouge Orthopedic Clinic. Remember, nights, holidays, weekends, after-hours clinics open. If you need North Peters Parish Construction Roofing, we'd love to help you out with a free, no-obligation roofing inspection. Visit parishbuilt.com. Thomas, just to stay on time here.
Parish Construction and Roofing. At Parish, we've got you covered. From the top of your roof, all the way down. Parish Construction and Roofing. Parish Built. Parish Built. Parish Built. From your hometown. ParishBuilt.com.
All right. Unique Physique and Unique Aesthetics. Unique Physique is GLP-1, semaglutide, tirzepatide. Unique Aesthetics is all your Botox, your laser hair removal, your laser therapy, your hydrofacials, your body contouring. You can check it all out there. And, of course, go see Crystal Poche at Restored Motions. If you've got pain, book a session. Restored Motions, restoredmotions.com. And, by the way, I have pinned – they're not technically a Morning Scone sponsor, but Gauntlet Light Installers, I have them pinned in the chat. So we didn't do a whiskey and wine yesterday with my travel, and so I wanted to give Gauntlet a shout. Gauntlet Light Installers, they're awesome. They'll come to your house. They'll install their Christmas lights, their decorations. Anything goes wrong during the season, they'll come fix it, whatever. And then at the end of the year, they come take it all down, haul it away. You do nothing, totally turnkey. They're awesome. GauntletLights.com, GauntletLights.com, GauntletLights.com. Okay. Where are we? Let me try to go, since I was half an hour behind on comments. I'm guessing a lot of those people might even be gone by now. Let me just kind of jump in the middle of where we were and just go from there. Where's Solomon Thomas? So Solomon Thomas broke his foot at the start of fall camp and missed the first month of the season. I think it's unrealistic to assume Solomon Thomas could help you. I think the bigger question is why, with all the struggles, are we not seeing more of Carius Kern? And I'm very respectful of the fact that I'm not at practice every day. The coaches are, they see the guys, but we all get to see the games. And man, I'm not sure that there's anything you've seen at tackle that makes you say, well, that guy would be decidedly worse. Hey, Tom, moving forward, LSU should only recruit or acquire in the portal dual threat quarterbacks. It's a benefit to your line. Struggling, we should have learned, not should have learned. Should have is a contraction. Should apostrophe V, should have learned, not should have learned that after Joe and Jaden. Well, Joe Burrow wasn't a mobile quarterback. Or he wasn't a running quarterback. He had the ability to run, but he wasn't a runner. And we didn't have that conversation a year ago about Garrett Nussmeier when he was throwing for 4,000 yards. That problem has been exacerbated this year because you have a leaky offensive line. So sure, you could say only recruit mobile quarterbacks, which I'm okay with, by the way, if that's what you decide to do just as a program, like if that's your path forward. Or you have to invest more to make sure your offensive line is good enough to protect your pocket passer. And that's the problem this year. They're not good enough to protect Garrett Nussmeier. Hey, Alex, Texas and Tennessee are in trouble. Charles, do you think Governor Landry's increased interest in the LSU program combined with the investments in the new industrial facilities to athletics cause increased pressure from the governor? I think state leaders, look, John Bell Edwards, for the love of God, was out at football practice, like throwing passes at practice. Tiger Stadium got built because of Huey Long. He built a dorm with a field in the middle of it. There's always been that involvement from government. I don't know that this is any different circumstantially. Hey, Brian, no excuse for Brian Kelly's coaching. Yeah, look, there's no deflecting blame. There's accountability across the board that needs to go around today. Hey, Rocky, if Woodward retains Kelly, how much money does he allow Kelly to go hire a new OC next season? Oh, I don't. Look, you're paying seven figures for coordinators. I don't know that that's the issue. I think, real question is, if you do move on from Joe Sloan as your OC after this year, what are you looking at? Are you looking at a proven veteran OC like you had with Mike Denbrock? Are you looking for an up-and-comer? Like, do you go to Ole Miss and try to hire Charlie Weiss Jr.? There's things. Those are the types of questions that you'll be having. Ivan, Mr. Moscone, I truly admire optimism. I didn't say I'm optimistic. I did not say I'm optimistic. I am inherently not optimistic today. I think when you've played 7 games, that's a large enough sample to know what you are. And I would say teams can improve as the season goes along. But it's also through a 7-game sample enough to say realistically over the final 5 games, how much more can you improve on the things that you need to improve on? And I don't think all of a sudden over the next 5 games, your offensive line becomes awesome. And I believe that is the root cause of all of your issues. You see symptoms of those issues all over. Against Ole Miss, the defense was on the field for 84 plays. You can point the finger at the defense, but why was the defense on the field for 84 plays? Because they were gassed because you couldn't run the football or wouldn't run the football, because even when they were dropping 8 and rushing 3, you couldn't run or protect. Well, that's an offensive line issue. If you run and protect, your offense maybe plays a little more ball control. Your defense isn't on the field quite as long. The game settles. You see what I mean? I believe the root of all, you see symptoms all over the place, but the root is your offensive line is terrible. So and then you can go to why is your offensive line terrible? Is it Brad Davis, lack of development? Is it that you didn't go heavy enough in the portal? Did you misevaluate in the high school level? Is it because you had turnover? You have to rely on younger guys earlier than you would have liked. I mean, I can't help but think, like, I'm watching Tennessee, Alabama last night, and there's Lance Hurd playing left tackle. And I go, well, as a 5-star from Louisiana who you recruited, signed, was here for a year, and then he left. What if Lance Hurd had stayed? Well, then Lance Hurd would be your left tackle right now, and maybe Tyree Adams would be your right tackle. And then you wouldn't have had to play Weston Davis when he wasn't ready. You see what I mean? There's a domino effect to all of it. And there's context to everything. But the root issue here is your offensive line is very bad, and that is causing a domino effect in everything you do. That is affecting everything you do. Completely dominated line of scrimmage. Yes. Both sides. And it's why I defensively, I look and I say, no Whit Weeks, no Bernard Gooden, no Jamari Butler, no Gabe Relaford. I mean, the strength of this defense before the season was knowing that you had so much depth and you're too deep. And instead of having a 6-year player in Jamari Butler and Gabe Relaford as your second team ends yesterday, you had Dylan Carpenter and CJ Jackson. That's a dramatic drop off, Whit Weeks is your first or second best player. I mean, I think Monster Delane's your best player, but you're not having Whit Weeks is huge. Anyway. Devin, I disagree with this. Get ready for the recruits to decommit. Recruits look at things differently than you and I do. I've had enough conversations with recruiting guys over the years, Shay and all of them, that I've learned that to be a truth. If fans, you and I watch games, we melt over wins and losses. By and large, dudes that are 17, 18 years old, they don't even know. They might know who won a game, who didn't, but they're in their own stuff, man. They're in high school. They're playing their season. They're being recruited by 50 different schools. And the other thing is they look at it and go, I'm the one that can come in and make a difference. It's just, they don't look at it the way you and I do. The best example that I give all the time is 2008. 08 was a terrible season for LSU after the national championship. It was embarrassing. LSU signed the number 1 class in the country. I mean, they look at it differently than you and I do. Super token, it takes years to build a program. It used to. But now in the portal NIL era, it doesn't. Look at SMU. SMU went from being a doormat to being in the playoff in 1 year. Look at Texas Tech. It doesn't take years to build a program anymore. You have to address it differently. Harlan Barry should give most of the carries. Team underperformed with Brian Kelly as the coach. I would say certainly it is fair. So I thought Harlan looked great yesterday, and I was glad to see him. It looked like Caden Durham was still hobbled. Early in the game, he limped off, and there was a good stretch of the game where he wasn't out there, and Harlan got the lion's share of the carries. I can't help but think back to Ole Miss and wonder, what if you'd given Harlan Barry 15 carries in that game without Caden Durham? What if you'd given Harlan Barry an opportunity to shake loose? Could that have been different? Maybe. But relative to what you've invested in Brian Kelly, it is absolutely fair to say you're underperformed. You went 9-3, 9-3, 8-4, and then this year, we'll see what they're staring down. But you're already at 5-2 through 7 games, with 3 games left where you're going to be an underdog. It's interesting because you have some high points of winning the West in year 1, having a Heisman in year 2, but those things are only magnify the shortcomings. To say you had a Heisman Trophy winner, but you went 9-3. So yeah, it's absolutely fair to say that they have not achieved relative to the investment they've made in Brian Kelly and his staff. We're in the middle of the pack, have been for the last few years. Debo, this is one of the things I think LSU fans don't like to acknowledge. But that's what LSU is. LSU is a perennial 8-4 football team that about every half decade or so pops a big season. And I know most people don't like to believe that, but That's true. Like, that's what LSU is. LSU's a perennial 8-4, 9-3 team that about every half decade pops a big year. Because LSU's had high level success, we all fancy LSU as something more than that, but they're not. Like, LSU is a perennial 8-4 football team. If you look at LSU's results by season, 8-4. If you include the bowl, 9-4, 10-3, 10-4, 6-7, 5-5, 15-0, 10-3, 9-4, 8-4, 9-3, 8-5, 10-3, 10-3, 13-1, 11-2. That was the stretch Les had, where it was 4 straight double-digit win seasons. But even still, you're talking about a 9-3 that got you to 10 with the bowl win in 2013. But before that, 9-4, 8-5, 12-2, won a national championship with 2 losses. 11-2, 11-2, 9-3, 13-1. That was the national championship in 03. 8-5, 10-3, 8-4. You know what I mean? Like, it's what LSU is. You're a perennial 8-4, 9-3 football team that about every half decade pops a big one. So, it's what you are. You're just waiting for the pop. Have trouble with the running quarterback. Have another one coming up. LSU needs a mobile quarterback like Pavia. I was at the ASU game yesterday. Tiny Stadium was electric. Matt, what do you think happens if LSU loses 2 more games? Oh, Fred, I think they will lose 2 more games. Look, with A&M, Bama, Oklahoma, it's hard. I think LSU can play their best game on a given Saturday and beat one of those teams. I wouldn't be surprised if they won one of those. I'd be really surprised if they won 2 of those. So, what happens? I think you can't have a season with so much expectation and fall so short of expectation without there being ramifications, right? There's got to be consequences. So what does that mean? Again, I think the buyout is a hindrance to moving on from Brian Kelly. I don't think that happens. I think the only way Brian Kelly would not be the coach next year is if he chooses to walk away. And when I say that, I want to be very clear. I don't have inside information. I've not spoken to Brian Kelly. I don't know. I'm just saying, like, at 63, is he at a point where he takes where this was an all-in year and they fell short, and you could look ahead and see what next year is going to be like, very likely a step back with all these one-year portal mercenaries gone. Does he want to stick around for that? All the pressure and all the everything this year. And I don't know. Maybe he wants to go do TV. That's the only way I could see Brian Kelly not being the coach next year is if he chose to leave. But is it Sloan, Brad Davis, the familiar names everybody talks about? Alex Atkins is on staff, who's been an O-line coach and an OC. Does he get more involved? I don't know. I don't know what it looks like. But you don't get to have a dramatically underachieving season without ramifications. Like, that's the thing that's going to happen. So unless they do something dramatically unforeseen and go on a tear in the final 5 games, Billy Napier did it last year at Florida, where they beat LSU, Ole Miss, Florida State, win their bowl game, and he just went from, like, he didn't have one foot in the grave. He was up to his neck. They were already starting to throw dirt to fill that hole. And then he just, like, Undertakered it, right? Straight out. And then, now he's probably going to be fired today. But, anyway, yeah. John, what Nuss did last year means nothing this year. I don't know. I'm sorry. Like, I don't know what the root of your comment is. That was a little while ago, but it does matter because it shows what he's capable of doing, right? It's not like the contrast I would tell you is thinking about Arch Manning's probably the best example, right? So Arch came in with so much hype this season, and he had thrown 95 career passes. Like, he had never been in a situation where he was starting and had proven worthy of that grand expectation. Garrett Nussmeier threw for 4,000 yards a year ago. Like, we saw him, in key moment, win the game late against Ole Miss. Like, you'd have to guess, couldn't Nussmeier do it? He can. We've seen him do it. It was the second greatest passing season for an LSU quarterback in history, behind only Joe Burrow in 2019. You see what I mean? So, like, it wasn't like a stretch to project that for Nussmeier. So absolutely it matters. The difference this year is last year you had 4 NFL draft picks on the offensive line that gave him all day to throw the football, and he was able to throw to a bunch of talented receivers. This year, the offensive line is a sieve, and they can't protect him, and so he's running for his life, and he doesn't have dynamic escapability, and so you're having to utilize the quick passing game. You're not letting things develop downfield where you have a great advantage with your athletic receivers, but because Nussmeier doesn't have time to throw, you don't have time to take those shots. But yes, it absolutely what Nussmeier did last year does matter. Hey, Jonathan, Brian Kelly's Notre Dame hack. Never hire anyone from that trash school. Okay. Young Citrus, a loss for words. Lars, Brian Kelly's had more than enough time. I don't disagree with you. I picked this LSU team to win the Southeastern Conference because you had the most experienced returning quarterback, skill talent everywhere on offense, and you went and bought an elite defense to complement Whit Weeks and Harold Perkins and the guys you had returning. Yes, this team had the investment made to make the college football playoff. And you have lost 2 games, and I'm not going to crush someone for losing 2 road conference games against ranked teams. It's not an easy thing to do, to go on the road and win conference games against ranked teams. However, it is how you have lost the games that you've lost that does not give you any reason to believe that it will be better when you go to Alabama or to Oklahoma. Thaddeus, I was very encouraged with our offense having explosive runs. I thought Harlan Berry looked really good yesterday. That's fair. What does Brian Kelly refer to today instead of we? I don't know. We don't use Barry and Nick Anderson sharp at all. We could have saved money for all this. I disagree on Barry and Brown. I mean, Barry and Brown yesterday, I think like the first. I think Barry and Brown had like. I think Barry and Brown got the ball like first 6 plays. Hang on. First play was no gain by Caden Durham. Second play was Barry and Brown reception. And Kyle Parker for 11 yards. It's a great catch by Kyle Parker across the field. Then Barry and Brown for 2 yards, Barry and Brown for 12 yards, Barry and Brown for 6 yards. So in your first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, he had 4 catches in your first 6 plays. So I'll disagree with you on Barry and Brown. Nick Anderson just hasn't been a factor. Aside from the deflection, the deflected ball from Tradez that at Ole Miss that Nick Anderson caught, he hasn't been a factor. Bauer Sharp led LSU in targets and catches in the opener against Clemson. He just hasn't had a day like that since, and he's kind of been a liability blocking, which is a little surprising. But yeah, yeah. David, but Kelly B. Bama's first season. I guess we now see what? Where? Hold on, there's a frog. I need to go get a frog. Oh. Where? Oh, it's a baby. What's it? Is that? You want to go talk to?
No. And where are you gonna put it? I throw it outside. Please go put it outside.
Oh no, they kind of did it just right in the middle of the floor. You want me to flush it?
No, we go put it outside.
Oh my god. He must have been like mixing all that.
No, he opened the door outside. Matt, he came in and was not your best. Yeah.
Man, he's been dead a long time. Erica, that thing was like rock solid. Baby, that dude has been dead for a long time. Erica, I just like he was stiff as a board. Like he would have crumpled. So Erica thinks that a frog dies and then becomes hard as a rock in a matter of 8 hours. You missed him. Or maybe Drew got it out of his play mat or something. Happy Sunday at the Scones. I thought that was a little baby frog that was going to try to hop away from me. He was just, I went to go grab him and it was like just stiff as like dead as a doornail. Please smash the like button if you would, subscribe to the channel, Facebook, like the page, share the post. Glad to have everybody here. Let's see. If Kelly left, who's out there to get? You know, look. You could have whatever combos you want, and I don't know where that would lead you, but you've got investment, you've got resources, you've got talent, you've got a lot of things that are always going to be appealing to people to want to take the LSU job if they get there. I don't know. Again, like, I don't know that they get there this year. Hi, welcome to Sesame Street. It's Drew. You say hi? You say hi? That was very polite. Hey, who plays football today? Huh? It's Sunday. Who plays football today? And what do we say when the Saints are playing? Who dat? What? What did you say? Was anybody playing Erica? Okay, well, we'll see you later. Vandy sconed LSU. What does that mean? Vandy sconed LSU. Let's see. Ivan, we all fell into the trap of drastically overvalue the talent available on our football team. That's as simple as you get. What do you mean, drastically overvaluing the talent? Like, I'll put it to you this way. Like, this is the thing I said preseason, and I'll say it again now. Okay. So I said, if they go 8-4, I think the phrase I used, it would be a cataclysmic failure, which they're staring down the face of a cataclysmic failure. Because here's the point. Let's just do this exercise with me about the talent, since you brought it up. Okay. And my thing is that the greatest condemnation on this team will come in April with the draft. Okay. So can we all agree Garrett Nussmeier will get drafted? Well, some of y'all aren't going to believe that, but Nussmeier's going to get drafted. Okay. So Nussmeier will get drafted. Barry and Brown will get drafted. Aaron Anderson will get drafted. Nick Anderson can come back. I don't know if Bauer Sharp's done enough to get drafted. You could say the same for Chris Hilton. I believe Xavier Thomas will get drafted. Braylon Moore will get drafted. And I believe Thompson will get drafted somewhere. If Garrett Dellinger got drafted, Thompson, I think, is a more versatile player than Dellinger. He's played both guard and tackle. He's played well this year. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There might be someone I'm missing, but that's 6 right there. And not even including your underclassmen like Tradez, Caden Durham, Harlan Berry, all those guys. But that's 6 right there on the offense. Defense, let's see. Patrick Payton will get drafted. Pyburn will get drafted. Bernard Gooden will get drafted. Jacobian Guillory. Butler. Relaford's a sophomore. Perkins. Witt, if he comes out, obviously will get drafted. Monster Delane will get picked. Halsey will get picked. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Like, they got a shot to set the LSU, to break the record from the 2019 team of the most players drafted from a team. That's when you're going to have the greatest condemnation on this team. When the draft comes in April and they have double-digit dudes, and maybe it ends up not being 15, maybe it ends up being 12, but you get a dozen guys drafted, like LSU is going to be right there with Ohio State or wherever else it'll be at the top of the list of the most players drafted from this year. It's the same thing with Ole Miss last year. Ole Miss set a program record for number of players drafted in this most recent NFL draft. They went 9-3. They dramatically underachieved relative to their talent. So I don't think, to your point, that we fell into some trap about the talent, because there's talent on this team. But yes, they have underperformed relative to their talent. I don't think there's any doubt about that. We could get Bill O'Brien. Oh, Bill O'Brien had like the second best odds to get the Penn State job. That's weird. I don't like how it's easy to discredit young linemen instead of the coaches. Young linemen are supposed to make mistakes, get beat, normal, which someone's not poor coaching. So they go hand in hand. Okay. Like, and ultimately you will hold coaches responsible for their poor play. But don't get it twisted. Like, you're looking at the root cause of the issue of what's happening on the field. Everything stems from the fact that your offensive line is not playing well. And that is an objective truth. Like, we can all objectively look at the game and watch and see that the offensive line is not playing well. You want to have the question of why they're not playing well. Did you miss on evaluations? Did you not go heavy enough in the portal? You have talented guys that just aren't ready to play because they're playing too early in their career, because guys like Lance Hurd left early, or all those are real conversations we can have. But don't get caught into a game of semantics about who to blame. Like, the core issue is the offensive line is a problem on your team, and not crushing young people, just understanding collectively as a group, that group has not played well. And that is the root cause of all your issues. Well, you can't protect Knox. You can't allow routes to develop downfield. You have to utilize a quick passing game. They struggle to run block. You're not on the field long enough possessing the football, so your defense is on the field more than they need to be, which is causing a trickle down, like all those things. It's increasing the pressure on the defensive side of the ball because they haven't been able, the defense has to be more perfect because your offense can't score, all those sorts of things. Yeah, Blaine, where do we go from here? Well, there's two different questions, or I guess same question, different answers. For the team, better buckle up and get ready for this weekend's A&M. Because if you go play your best game of the season and beat A&M this week at home, which you can roll your eyes and laugh, that's fine. I don't know what the look ahead line has been. The early line's probably A&M 7, I would think. Let me see what's posted. Come on. I'm looking at DraftKings, see what the line is, if it's been posted yet. Come on. A&M 2.5 value at Tiger Stadium. I thought it'd be A&M 6 or 7. A&M 2.5. So early line is A&M 2.5. So, like, you're a 2.5 point home underdog. Like, play your best game, see if you can win one at home. If you do, then you go into your open date with a little good vibe, hope, get healthy, turn the corner. It's If you lose at home next week to A&M, then you're a 3-loss SEC team with 4 to play, and you're going to be an underdog and 2 on the road. And then you're probably staring down 7-5, and you have real conversations about what the future of the program is with Kelly and the staff. 720 watching for egg on face. Matt is like, hell no, I'll double down for that. For what? What am I? Help me here. What am I not acknowledging? What am I doubling down on? I mean, help me. Like, what am I saying that's not agreeable? Gulf South TCU went from 4-8, firing the head coach, to hiring Sonny Dykes, making the championship game in his first year in a 14 playoff. People act like it takes years to build with NIL. It's also not fair to make that comp, Gulf South, when you're talking about a Big 12 that TCU is in, as opposed to the SEC, where you have dramatically more resources. What you fail to ignore, or what you fail to acknowledge, is that TCU made the championship game, played Georgia, and lost 65-7. So please don't come at me and try to act like TCU going from 4-8 to the championship game would have happened if Sonny Dykes had been playing with TCU in the SEC in year one. So you can make that argument and how quickly things can turn around. That's fine. And Brian Kelly did that in year one, going from a 500 team, a 6-7 team with Ed Ogeron, where you went 5-5, 6-7, and then year one, beat Bama, won the West, won 10 games. So he did have a dramatic turnaround in year one. And TCU hasn't sniffed a championship game or a playoff since, by the way. So let's have an honest conversation, okay? Like you can say that, and there's morsels of truth in that argument, but you can't ignore the other components of that conversation. And it's one of my biggest problems, by the way. It's one of my biggest problems with college football is we don't have equitable scheduling, because you can be TCU in a bad league and make a playoff, or Indiana a year ago going 11-1, getting blown out by the one-ranked team you played and got in the playoff, because we don't have equitable scheduling. That's been one of my things that I have banged the drum for years about that. Like, it's why I want an expanded playoff, so things like that don't happen. Sure, TCU, you want to get in, or 11-1 Indiana? Sure, you can get in because your record says you're warranted and you should get an opportunity, but not at the expense of a team that played a brutal schedule and went 9-3 and is on the outside looking in because they played a brutal schedule. Yeah, Jason, the timeout was horrible. What's your thoughts? Talked about that already. I think it was a terrible decision at the end of the game. The way that I look at it, and I said this immediate post game on my Locked On reaction show, was: do you feel you have a greater probability of converting a 4th and 8, or a greater probability of punting, getting a stop, getting the ball back, driving the length of the field for a touchdown? I think the greater probability is converting 4th and 8. With all the, Tradez, Aaron Anderson was out there, Barian Brown, Harlan Bear, all the guys you got. You get a greater probability of converting 4th and 8 than of getting a stop. And look, you had 2 timeouts and the 2-minute timeout. So you had 3 opportunities to stop the clock. So in a conventional setting, I would agree with you. But in that game, you were not getting stops. And that's where I have the problem with the decision. David Reed, LSU is in fact burning. No, I think LSU is what they are. It's the thing that I've said all along. Like, that's where Bama fans have gotten that thing twisted. It's LSU is what they are. And Bama's burning is never about LSU. It's always about laughing at Alabama for being super pumped that you beat Missouri. See? I'll remind you, A&M last year was the last undefeated team in the conference. They ended up 8-4. I have a feeling you're going to have time. I've seen enough from Elmer Fudd to know what he is. I'm just lying in wait. I'm ready. I'll be ready. Thank you, Red T. Appreciate that, man. Saints going to draft Nuss. Give him an offensive line and a running game. Matera's more like Sellers. Good runner, below average passer. We could beat Oklahoma. A&M's a bad matchup with Reed, but the game's in Baton Rouge. Most likely 8-4, 10-2 could happen if they find a way to beat A&M. Man. Who dat? Alex Paris. Yep, Paris Construction Roofing. Appreciate y'all very much as always. Do business for someone you know. Can Paris Construction hire Brian Kelly? I don't think we can afford him. Not yet, anyway. Seeing Drew happy makes my day better. Thank you, Brad. Appreciate that, man. Same with me. It's great. My daily, I would say, is my daily dose of perspective, man. No matter what you think, what's going on in life, the world, it's a great dose of perspective to remind you what matters in life. So, what, baby? Hey, let me see your shirt. Oh, who's on your shirt today? Mike the Tiger. Let's show everybody your shirt. All right. Mike the Tiger's on your shirt, huh?
Yeah.
Well, today's Sunday. Who plays football on Sunday?
Saints.
The Saints. What do we say when the Saints are playing? Who dat?
What's that?
What is everything playing there, Greta? All right. All right, please smash the like button if you would. Subscribe to the channel, Facebook like the page, share the post. Let's see. Beat Creole, good morning. I'm scrolling through some comments where some of y'all are going back and forth. Did Chris Hilton quit the team? No, Hilton was out there. Actually, if you look on Xavier Thomas's touchdown, Hilton was running down the field with him on the 62-yarder. I think people have asked about Hilton and should he get more targets. My question is, okay, who do you want to take targets from to give them to Hilton? And this is a question that I asked Garrett at SEC Media Days. I asked Joe Sloan when we had the fall camp meet availability with him. And it's some combination of when you have this many weapons, like how do you keep that many hungry mouths fed? And it's a real thing, man. And when you have guys that have made the most of their opportunity, they deserve more opportunity. That's Aaron Anderson. That's Barian Brown. That's Trey'Dez Green. Unfortunately, that's not Nick Anderson and Chris Hilton right now. Where are they at? Oh, really? Okay. See you later. Patrick, such an embarrassment with all the money we invested in the roster and staff. Need to hire the best head coach in college football in the country, period. Who is that? You think you're going to get Kirby Smart from Georgia? Or who do you think that is? David said, will Sloan be the sacrificial lamb? Well, to say sacrificial lamb would suggest that moving on would not be warranted. I would suggest that if you're the coordinator of an offense that through 7 games has yet to score 25 points against an FBS opponent, it's warranted. Again, I've understood and was willing to hear the arguments in the first month for all the things we talked about. Whatever combination of Nussmeier's injury, new offensive line, good defensive fronts from Clemson and Florida. Why Kelly said they leaned on their defense. There were times where, remember he said there were times where the analytics said go for it on a 4th down, but we decided to punt and play defense because we leaned on our I got it. I understood that. You're at a point now where You're 7 games in. You've had enough of a sample size. I mean, how could you look at that Ole Miss defense yesterday against Georgia or Ole Miss defensively against Arkansas and see how bad that team is defensively? Ole Miss is a bad defensive football team. Lane Kiffin is a brilliant head coach. He's a great play caller. He's a great offensive mind, all that sort of stuff. Okay. Ole Miss defensively, 2 different conversations. Ole Miss defensively is bad. They are a bad defensive football team. And you couldn't crack 20 against them. Like, that's awful. That's inexcusable. I disagree with that. I think his size, speed, athleticism will get him drafted, and his willingness to play special teams. Remember this guy named James Wright? I don't know if you remember James Wright. Hey, would you go watch your iPad, please? We're going to watch the Saints in a little while. Drew's house. Drew's house. Drew's house. Drew's house, Erica. Okay. You remember a guy named James Wright, who was a receiver at LSU, and he was drafted in the 7th round by the Bengals, despite not catching a single pass his final year at LSU. Because he ran good routes, he was a willing blocker on the outside, he played special teams, was really athletic. So I think you'll probably see that with Hilton too. But you may be right; he may go undrafted just because some of the injury history and the lack of productivity this year. But he's got the physical ability traits to be a drafted player. How can we screw up an offensive line consisting of 4 and 5 stars so bad? I think a lot of times it's guys playing before they're ready. That's a I think that is a symptom of the current state of college football that people have to navigate, that coaches have to navigate. So, for example, in a different era, you'd have guys stay and wait their turn until they were 3rd or 4th year players to play. And I gave you the example of Lance Hurd, right? I gave that a bit ago. And it's one I gave because it's an obvious one. He was a 5-star from Louisiana. You recruit him, you sign him. He's here as a freshman. He's behind Will Campbell. He leaves after 1 year, goes to Tennessee. And now he's going to be a 3-year starter at left tackle at Tennessee. What if he had stayed and then this year as a 3rd-year player was your starter at left tackle? Well, are you better with Lance Hurd, former 5-star, as your starter at left tackle as a redshirt sophomore than you are with Tyree Adams? And then maybe Adams plays right tackle, and so Davis then doesn't have to play this year. You see what I mean? Like, that's the thing that you have to navigate, but it's not unique to LSU. That's what everybody has to navigate right now. And, you played Chester last year out of position as a redshirt freshman. And this year you've got Cohen Eccles as a redshirt freshman and Weston Davis as a redshirt freshman. And you got a bunch of young guys that aren't ready. They're not ready. They're very talented young guys that may in time become very good players. They're just not ready yet, but you had to play them. Joe Brady will never coach in college again. Dude hates recruiting, wants to be an NFL head coach. Well, Tommy, the one thing I would say, so there's part of that of wanting to be in the NFL. I agree with you on that. But the difference in college now is recruiting has just never been less relevant. Recruiting is revenue share NIL. It's very, like, by and large now, the college game reflects the pro game. It's why you have to have someone like Austin Thomas in the GM role to help manage your cap, your fund, and how you allocate it to your roster. And it's less and less about high school recruiting now. Call meet me, Erica. What? Could you imagine this offensive talent with Slinger at the helm? Maybe not Quillis. You think back to 2019 though, and the skill was undeniable, but the probably the most understated part of that team is that offensive line and how many of those guys went pro. Steve Charles was drafted. Austin Deculus was drafted. Lloyd Cushenberry was drafted and ended up signing the richest deal for a center in NFL history at the time. Oh God, Seattle guard. I'm blanking. Anyway, blanking. Huh?
We'll go Hobby Lobby.
You go to Hobby Lobby, Erica? Why are you going to Hobby Lobby?
We'll go Hobby Lobby.
Go to Hobby Lobby, Erica? Okay, we'll see you later. Damian Lewis, D-Lou. I mean, all those guys were drafted, you know. Survivor's remorse for all the people calling for Brian Kelly to be fired. It won't happen. It's a bigger indictment on Scott than BK, so he's going to give him more chances unless fans stop showing up. Yeah, I think it's honestly survivor's remorse less even about Scott Woodward at this point. Like, and it's not about Scott Woodward giving Brian Kelly chances. It's the contract. Like, it's the thing that I've said for 4 years, which is true. For better or worse, you are financially bound to Brian Kelly for a decade. That's the contract you signed. And that's the contract you had to offer him to get him to leave Notre Dame. And if he ends up winning a championship, it's worth it. No one will think twice about the money you spend. No one in Tuscaloosa thinks twice about the money they spent on Nick Saban, 12, 13 million, whatever it was a year. It didn't matter. They were winning. They rebuilt the whole city of Tuscaloosa, that whole campus because of Nick. But when you're not winning, it magnifies the money you're spending, the poor investment. Let's see. Yeah, Damon said the real question is, why did you handcuff your Kelly? Well, because again, it was if you wanted to get. You go to Momo's house, Erica?
We'll go
Okay, please go watch your iPad, okay?
We'll go.
Watch your iPad. Okay, Drew, go watch your iPad, okay? Bye, bud. Because it's the type of contract you had to offer to be able to get him to leave Notre Dame. And at the time, I and everyone celebrated the fact that it was a home run successful hire, right? It was at the time of the hiring, the most successful coach you'd ever hired to coach a football program. That is an objective fact, by the way. That's not debatable. When you look at number of wins, playoff, all this stuff, LSU had never, at the time of the hiring, hired a more successful football coach than when they got Brian Kelly. And to make that deal, you had to offer them the contract you did. And none of us would have any problem with it if they were winning. None of us had a problem with it year one when they beat Bama, won the West, and all that sort of stuff. You want to call it into question now? Sure, absolutely. And the people that offered that contract, Scott Woodward, they'll ultimately have to answer for it. Just like Kelly will have to answer for his record, and Sloan will have to answer for the offense, and all that sort of stuff. I tell the truth about what will happen in the last 5. I think I've done that. I think I've been pretty clear. I think you'll be an underdog in 3 of the 5. My hope is you play your best game and win one of those. And I think you'll beat Arkansas and Western Kentucky. So 3 more wins, probably 8-4. I think you got a better shot at beating A&M than you do Bama or Oklahoma because you get the home game instead of the 2 on the road. And I still think it won't be nearly the environment Saturday night that we would have had LSU won yesterday. And you would have had a top 10 matchup and so much on the line and all that stuff. So now you get all the negativity of that loss and being 2 SEC losses already and all that stuff. But by the time you get to Saturday, it'll be a big game. It'll be a home game. You got a top 5 A&M, undefeated A&M coming in, and a chance to knock them off. And LSU fans love to beat A&M, and so I think it'll be a good environment. Yeah, I mean, I think you probably play. I say it all the time in every sport. Like, you're gonna play your best game of the. Like, every team in the history of sports at some point in the season has played their best game and their worst game. Like, it's just true. Like, season ends, look back, say which was your best, which was your worst. What, baby?
The musical.
Sesame Street, Elmo the Musical? Okay. Sesame Street, Elmo the Musical. There you go. Can you go watch on your playmat, please? Here, I need you to go watch it on your playmat, please. Okay. All right. Hey, Eric. All right, buddy. See you later. All right, y'all. Saints coming up here in a few minutes. Please smash the like button if you would. Subscribe to the channel. Facebook, like the page, share the post. God. Matt, throw up a prayer we can draft Trey'Dez Green. Well, Trey'Dez has at least one more year, man. He's a true sophomore, so he's got one more year before he can go in the draft. But love to see his development. I mean, that's one of the bright spots. They keep pushing him the ball, and rightfully so. He makes plays. And I love seeing Harlan Berry get involved yesterday as well. So let's see. Might be about ready to wrap this up, y'all. Got to go watch the Saints play because I'm a masochist. And, please smash the like button if you would, subscribe to the channel, Facebook, like the page, share the post. Trying to see if there's any more that I can get to here in a minute or so. Probably just wrap it up. All right, y'all. Quick reminder, Brock, Parrish, need a piece, go to Brock, need a roof, give us a shot, Parrish Construction Roofing, parrishbuilt.com, parrishbuilt.com. Unique physique, unique aesthetics, also Restored Motions, restoredmotions.com. Book a session with Crystal Poche. If you've got pain, she will get you out of it. Restoredmotions.com. And Bocock Brothers Premium Cigars. They do have the baseball cigars. They've got the LSU 100-year Tiger Stadium cigars. Use the code MAT15, MAT15, MAT15 for 15% off your order at Bocock Brothers. They'll give you that discount. So here's hoping the Saints maybe play well. Give us a reason to cheer. Anyway, all right. Y'all have a great day. Again, if you're on the way out, please smash the like button, subscribe to the channel. If you're on Facebook, like the page, share the post. We appreciate y'all as always. Have a great day. Peace, y'all.